I created a year-long reading challenge for romantasy. The announcement's already on my channel, and that's where I walked everybody through the prompts and I gave some recommendations. So I will leave that down below in case you missed it and you want to check it out. This will be my TBR, the ones that I haven't read yet and what I'm planning to read for this bingo challenge. Brief overview, I will be going for Blackout on the bingo because that's just what I like to do, because I think that makes it a challenge with how much I read every single year. But if you read less than that, you can just do a bingo line. I will also be doing hard mode on this romantasy bingo challenge because romantasy is my main genre, so I just think it makes sense for me. Let's just get into doing my TBR. Also, this is like the start of me filming in my new space, so the lighting might be a little bit wonky. We're just going to roll with it, and as I film more in here, I'll definitely get to figure some of that stuff out, try some new angles and things like that. So far I am liking this angle. Let me know what you think about it. Square number 1 on the bingo board is new release, and since this does go through 2025 and 2026, new release means that it was pubbed in the year that you read it, and the hard mode for this is that it is a debut author. Some squares I have options for and some I don't, and this is one of those squares that I just have the one set book for. I'm planning to read To Cage a Wild Bird for this. It is a debut author, it hits hard mode, and I will read it this year since it was pubbed in 2025. I'm excited for this. If I don't end up reading this one, I know there'll be something that comes along next year that I read. I think this square will be easy for me to do, but I know that that one is a debut author. I know that it is on my TBR. I actually have the physical book coming, so I know that that one will overall just work for me, and that is exciting. Our next square is Hidden Identity, and the hard mode for that is that it's not royalty. I think I'm gonna read Crescent Kingdom by Tessa Hale for this. I know that she is hiding who she is because there's some people out to get her. Not that she's actually royalty, she's just going to be like a mate to a werewolf pack, and I think she's just hiding. I'm not gonna tell you synopsis of books just because honestly for most of them I don't know them, I just know they fit the prompts, and also I'm about to talk about a lot of books, so that would take a long time. The next square is To Take Down the System, so a book revolving around revolutions and rebellions, like we're trying to take down the corrupt system, and the hard mode for this is a dystopian setting. I could read the sequel to Silver Elite for this. I actually have that for later on for another square, so instead I have Stormbreaker by Nisha J. Tooley. This is a YA fantasy coming out. I'm assuming it's gonna lean a little bit romance just from what I know about the author and stuff, and I believe it's like a very dystopian setting. I think this looks really good. It's supposed to be an upper YA romantasy where Divergent meets the Cruel Prince in a glittering, storm-wrecked Manhattan where the elite rule through legacy and one forbidden romance could tear it apart. Like, does that not sound incredible? Very, very excited to try this one next year when it comes out. Our next square is a BIPOC author, and the hard mode for this is that there's flowers on the cover. I think I'm going to retry A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I actually read this probably 5 or 6 years ago, and I DNF'd it. Since then, I have really become a romantasy reader. I was definitely more fantasy leaning back then and didn't like as much romance and stuff. And I believe I also had DNF'd Zodiac Academy right around there, and now I'm obviously a Zodiac Academy stan. I love that series. So I think that maybe retrying this could really work for me, and it does fit hard mode. So I'm excited for that. Scarlett St. Clair has a huge backlist, and a lot of them have flowers on the cover. Our next square is First Person, and the hard mode for this is that it is a new to you author. So I'm using a Flames and Fallacies for this one. Obviously works for both prompts. It has a dragon trade going on, like illegally, and our main character has to try to get this dragon across the country essentially without getting caught. I am very, very excited for this one. Next up we have Blank of Blank, so a title that literally is 3 words long and it follows blank of blank. I think I'm going to read Worthy of Fate for this one. I don't think that this is fae, but I could be wrong about that, and if it is, I'm gonna have to find another spot to fill this, which is fine. I do find that this is a very common title phrase in romantasy. A little bit less than the blank of blank and blank, but definitely we still see blank of blank very, very often. I'm very excited. I actually own a special edition of this as well, and so I really just need to read this and figure out if I like it. I've heard really good things about this series, not that I know anything about it. Next up, the prompt is the indie to trad pipeline, so something that was independently published originally and now has been picked up traditionally. And your hard mode for this is just that it's a sequel. I do have a lot of options for this, to be honest. This is kind of a freebie square square for me because I did say in the announcement, sequel did not have to be indie published for it to count, just the original did. I could read the next books in the Reign of Shadow and Ending series, the Bonded by Thorn series, the City of Gods and Monsters series. There are so many that I could read. However, to be extra challenging to myself, I think I want to start a new one. I've been really interested in the Smoke and Scar series, and I know that just got picked up. So I think that's what I'm gonna read. Hopefully I like book 1 because I'm putting book 2 technically on this since that's the sequel prompt for hard mode. But I'm hoping that I fall in love with this. I just have like good vibes from this series for some reason. I know that it's like a trial competition setting, and I believe it's Reluctant Allies to Lovers, which are both some of my favorite things. So I'm hoping I love that. Okay, I need help on this next square. We have rep matters for this square, and the hard mode is that its own voices. So any kind of representation, and then the author also has to represent that representation for it to fit hard mode. I could go with like the next Fourth Wing book, or I could do like a BIPOC author and read more BIPOC representation. However, since I have that BIPOC square, I thought for myself personally, I would love to focus this on other types of representation. Some chronic illnesses maybe, like I know Phantasma had OCD rep and I thought that was cool, or like the rep in Fourth Wing. So I would love to focus on something like that since I'm like I already have that square for BIPOC author. I would love some recommendations because I actually found it very hard to find representation for things. There's not like a list of just like romantasy with OCD rep. So it's very hard to do that. So I would love some recommendations. Our next square is to start a new series. That one's pretty easy, and the hard mode is that the author writes in multiple genres. So I went with Half City by Kate Golden. I'm really excited for this one. It's like an urban setting story, and I've been loving that for romantasy, and Kate Golden does have a romance that she wrote. She is also the author of the Dawn of Onyx series, but I'm very excited for this new one from her. But since she does write a romance, she has a contemporary romance, she counts for that hard mode. But as always, I would love recommendations because I have found very good success with specifically authors who write romance who end up going to romantasy. That's worked really well for me. So if you have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Next up, we have urban setting, and the hard mode for this is a personal favorite of mine, and it is a secondary world urban setting. So an urban setting that's not our world. So a city setting that's just not our world. Like it's in a made up world. I have some personal favorites that do this, and so this was really exciting for me to prioritize picking up another one. I believe the book I just said for the last prompt, Half City, does count for this. I believe it is a secondary world. So if people need recommendations, there's that. But also in my announcement video, I did put out a lot of recommendations for each square. But it's time. I've been saying it's time for so long, but I mean it this year. This coming year, I have to read this. Like I have to. House of Flame and Shadows, I still have not read, and this is like the epitome of an urban setting secondary world. So I know I need to read this, and I'm hoping I love this. Technically, I have tried this. I actually DNF'd this about 100 pages in, but I'm going in with new eyes, a new mindset, and someone who is much more a romantasy lover than I was when I tried this. Really hoping that Crescent City works for me. This is a stunning edition I have of it, so I really hope I love it so that I can keep this beautiful set. Next up, I have a fun prompt. It was so fun creating all of these, but ghosts and ghouls, so ghosts and demons, and your hard mode for this is that the love interest is one. I feel like Phantasma was really in mind when I created this since I loved Phantasma so much. Essentially, I said, what did I love in books? And then I put it on here so that I was forced to try to read more books with those things that I loved. And I have options for this one. I think the one I'm most likely to get to is Vesselus by Courtney L. Wynn. This is a trial setting, and our main character teams up with a half ghost to survive the trial. And I'm very excited about this one. I have been waiting to read this for so long. It got picked up, it was indie, and now it's traditionally published, and I'm so excited to get to this one. So I'm pretty sure this will be the one I read. But I also own Exquisite Rune, and from the artwork inside, I'm assuming the love interest is a demon, and I need to read this. I want to do an unsubscribe my wallet with the Owl Crate Romantasy that this is from, because I really need to decide whether I want to continue that or not. So I need to read the first 3 picks or first 4 picks or whatever I have so that I can really think if these picks are for me. So I have a feeling they're not going to be just from what I've seen, but I would really like to prioritize reading this, so this would also work. And then I also know Deathless Ones will work as well because she makes a deal with a demon essentially. So I definitely have options, and I'm really excited to read all 3 of those. I feel like the idea of the love interest being a ghost or a demon is a lot of fun. Our next square is Voice Inside Your Head, and the hard mode for this is Not an Animal Companion. I think I'm gonna go for a sequel on this. I have 2 options. I have the sequel to Silver Elite, Broken Dove. They talk to each other in their head. And then I also have the sequel to Quicksilver. She talks to like the weapons, like the silver in that one. So that would also work. Our next square is just Friend Rec, and the hard mode is that it comes from my channel. I obviously can't do the hard mode because obviously I've already read my books. I might twist it so it has to go on my own TBR because I think that would make sense. But I'm just gonna do a Friend Rec at some point from someone throughout the year. I'm not actually putting a book down. If you would like to recommend me a book, feel free to comment it down below, and maybe I'll take it from the comments. Like maybe I'll take a recommendation from the comments for this square. So if there's something that you think I would love, please comment it down below. Hard mode for me is just going to be a freebie, and I'm going to count this as a freebie. Especially if maybe it has to be a book that I end up loving, because then I would recommend it on my channel. Not really sure. It might just be whatever I want it to be. I'm very excited about this hard mode for other people, but it was a little hard for me. Our next square is Book Talk Hype. So anything that's been hyped up on Book Talk that's getting very popular due to it being talked about on like Book Talk a lot. I feel like Book Talk has really changed reading and like social media and like how books blow up quite a bit. So I did want to kind of give like an homage to it in this. I feel like Book Talk has been like very influential to the romantasy genre, but the hard mode for this one is that it's still indie at the time of reading, and I honestly think that could be a little bit hard for a lot of books. I'm gonna go with Hollow by the Twisted Sisters. This is their new series that is actually separate from the Zodiac Academy world. I've already seen this all over TikTok, and I'm pretty sure it'll stay indie just because Zodiac Academy I think will be staying indie. I just think from what I've seen, it doesn't look like they're really interested in going traditionally, but I'm just making things up. Like that's just what I've seen like looking at them. That's what I'm assuming, so don't quote me on anything, but I'm assuming Hollow will stay indie. I am excited to dive into a new world. I love Zodiac Academy. I love the writing, so I'm very, very excited for this one. Things are getting picked up so quickly right now, so I think that's going to be very hard with this hard mode. Okay, my next one is Forbidden Romance, and the hard mode is that it's not enemies to lovers. So that is hard, especially for me, and enemies to lovers girly. Like I love enemies to lovers. I typically don't read things that aren't like somewhat that, but I have written down The Poison and the Paladin. I've read from this author before. I read The Claw and the Crown from this author, and I did enjoy it. So I think that this one would work, and based on things on their website, Sarah M. Credit has like trope things on her websites. So I was looking at that, and I think this fits Forbidden, not enemies to lovers. The other ones I was thinking of is Tempest by Victoria Aveyard that comes out next year. I think it's more like fantasy leaning with a really, really strong romance subplot. It's like a Pirates of the Caribbean style story. So maybe that one. I just don't know if it's enemies to lovers, or In the Veins of Drowning. I also don't know if that's enemies to lovers, but those are options that are on my radar. Maybe if I read them and they count, I'll count them. But I do have The Poison and the Paladin to like fall back on. We have Trials, and the hard mode for this is that it's an academic setting. I could list so many trial books that are on my TBR right now. The struggle is the hard mode. There are books that fit this, and I know there'll be some that come, and they typically are my favorite way that trials are done because I love a school setting and I love trials, so when they're combined it's like peak for me. But off the top of my head with like very little research, I couldn't find any. So if you have any recommendations, I would love to hear them. But I'm sure as I read, I always just read some of these every single year. Like I'm not like outright searching for them, but because I like school settings and because I like trials, I tend to always end up reading a lot of those. And then there's one that's both every single year. So I'm not really worried about this one, but if you have recommendations, I'm always looking to read them. My next square is 2+ love interest, and the hard mode is that it's not a love triangle. As a Why Choose lover, this was kind of easy for me because I knew I could just pick up a Why Choose, but I did go with one that I have from Fairy Loot since I do want to prioritize reading some of my special editions. I have Warrior Princess Assassin. I know that this is a poly romance, so there are 2 love interests in this one. The thing is, now that I'm looking at this might fill a prompt later on that might be harder to fill, so I might end up using it for that because I know I will fill this throughout the year. I'll read a Why Choose since I've been loving Why Choose lately. The clouds are about to be the death of me. I'm so sorry that it just got really dark. Next up, we have Single POV, and the hard mode is that it was published 5 or more years ago. I believe this one counts. It is The Bone Witch by Ivy Asher. I own this beautiful bind up special edition, so I'm really hoping to love this one. I believe it was published in 2020. So this is the plan I currently have for that square. Ooh, the next square was a hard one. We have Court court setting, so something that takes place at like the royalty court, and the hard mode is animal on the cover. Most of the times when I made the prompts, I had specific books that I could recommend in mind, or specific books that I could put on my TBR in mind. I tried to make it so that I knew of books, so that I knew this worked. With this one, however, I just knew that a lot of books happened at court, and I knew that a lot of fantasy romance had animals on the cover, and I didn't really think of the overlap, so it's harder than I thought it was going to be. I have two options for this. The first one is King of Flesh and Bone. I believe there is a raven on this cover, and I have previously read from this author, Feather So Vicious, and I loved Feather So Vicious, so I have high hopes for this. And then the second one I have is The Wolf King. I believe it starts at court. I just don't know if it continues at court once we move to another place, but those are my two options for this square. If you have recommendations, please leave them down below, because this was harder than I thought it was going to be. Our next square is A Whole New World, and that means like portal fantasy, with the hard mode being a retelling slash reimagining. So this one was also hard. Why did I do this to myself? Why did I do this to all of us? Not 100% certain, but here I am. So if you have recommendations, please leave them down below that fit hard mode, because I am trying to do hard mode this entire time. I know I can hit this because the Bonded by Thorns series does fit this. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it is a new world, like a portal fantasy, but I have been trying to not do as many sequels as possible. So if I could find a new series, I would love that. My favorite trope of all time for romantasy, which is reluctant allies to lovers, and the hard mode for this one is a marriage of convenience. I have a Kingdom of Shadow and Ash written down. I know that this is an arranged marriage. Arranged marriages are not always marriage of convenience, so I'm not 100% certain if this would work, but I know I'm really excited for this book, so I wanted to put it on there just in case, and when I read it, I'll figure it out. But if you have recommendations, I'd love to know them, because marriage of convenience and reluctant allies to lovers is like top tier for me, so I need them in my life. Next up, we have one word title, with the hard mode being gothic, so I'm putting Enigma on my TBR for this one, but I could also read the sequel to Anathema called Eldritch, and that would count as well. And then we have a shifter romance for the next square, and the hard mode is not werewolves. I'm putting a sequel, book 3 of a series actually, called Caged in Shadow here. I know this is dragon shifters. I really hate these clouds. Next up, we have another hard prompt, which is a weapon on the cover, with the hard mode being a powerless main character, so a character with no powers. I think the Rivaled Crown counts for this. I believe there's an arrow on the cover. This is another sequel. It's the third book in a series that I have enjoyed. I didn't really like book 2, but I loved book 1, so maybe book 3 will like pull it out of the park for me. But then I also think Daughter of the Pirate King counts. She's got a weapon on the cover, and I believe she's powerless, but I'm not like 100% certain. Let me know if this counts if you've read it. And then lastly, our last prompt is a chunky series, so 4 or more books long, and the hard mode is that it's interconnected with other series, so something like Cosmere, but romantasy. I think I'm going to read Tempest of Wrath and Vengeance by Melissa K. Rowick. This is interconnected with the Lady of Darkness series. You don't have to read them both, like there's not a mandatory order or anything, but they are interconnected. I actually haven't read Lady of Darkness. I DNF'd it after book 1, but I love this series, and this is the 3rd book. But I also would be interested in trying another series, so if you have any recommendations, like starting a new one in like this interconnected world. I'm loving that more and more series, more authors are doing this. I love when it's more like Cosmere and I don't have to read them, but I can see like Easter eggs if I have read them. I don't love when they're like direct characters or like mandatory reading order, but if you have recommendations, I'd love to hear them down below. And then a reminder that if you are participating in Romantasy Bingo, it runs November 1st to October 31st, but you can make a TBR whenever, really. That's just like the time you have to read. It is 1 book per author, and that's really all you need to know, and that I will have a playlist that I will link down below with any TBRs that I am tagged in, so that people can watch them and get some recommendations and stuff from it. I'll leave the announcement video on the screen for you to check out in case you missed it, and then if you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me a yellow heart emoji, and have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.